We've seen an overwhelming voter turnout. It's the first time, I think, since 1994 that we've seen the hype and really the positioning in terms of voter turnout in all of the electoral districts that we've analysed and looked at. So that's the one. We've had a very high voter turnout, especially amongst young people. This is interesting given the run-up and the view that we're probably going to get an apathetic voter turnout coming out. I think yesterday was demonstrative of the view of how people are starting to see this election as really a fundamental turning point in terms of our democracy. We're starting to see change in terms of some of the metro municipalities, the city of Tshwane, the city of Joburg, Nelson Mandela Metro, and we're also starting to see a more equitable distribution of power. So there's a very strong likelihood that in the city of Tshwane and perhaps even in the city of Johannesburg that we're going to see the emergence of coalition politics. So within 21 days, we have to get an announcement in terms of if we do go with a coalition government, who that coalition government will be. And so the next 21 days are going to be interesting in terms of horse trading, in terms of parties coming together, in terms of engaging around what are the possibilities of partnerships and marriages that come through, and who knows what emerges in terms of some of these coalition discussions. So I think that's the first. I think the second is that we've seen overwhelmingly a free and fair election coming through. There were some concerns after what happened in Tshwane 2 to 3 weeks ago around the possibility of some electoral violence coming through. What we start to see and what emerges with coalition politics is that we start to see the emergence of negotiations beyond the individual metro municipality. What I mean by that is that, yes, there might be a possibility of a coalition in the city of Tshwane. I think there will be, but I think the negotiation will emerge beyond the city of Tshwane. So the possibility that we might see parties engaging with each other on negotiating seats in other municipalities in this negotiation. The possibility even that negotiations will take place beyond local government, the possibility of extending an arm at provincial or national government. And this is going to be a very interesting 21 days. There have been some sound bites and some attempts in terms of discussions between parties. We've seen lots of negotiations between Dali Mpofu and Musi Maimane of the Democratic Alliance. Julius Malema from the EFF has spoken quite extensively about this possibility of a negotiation with a party in coalition around an agreement where they'd put some specific guidelines in place and then negotiate those agreements with those guidelines and timelines. Today, we see in the Western Cape and specifically in the city of Cape Town the overwhelming majority of the Democratic Alliance. And I think the ANC will take that as a case study in terms of saying how do we properly negotiate the possibility of a coalition in such a way that we don't replay what happened 10 years ago. Local government is a lot around bread and butter issues. It's about the provision of basic services, it's service delivery issues, it's electricity, it's water provision, etc., etc. And the nuances that we've started to see playing out in the last 6-7 months in terms of the run-up to this election has been one, the difficulty around service delivery. We've seen in the last 12 months up until July 2016, 14,800 service delivery protests in South Africa. And this is demonstrative of the anger and the frustration that's there amongst communities, regardless of which party is running the local council. I think it's not only as a measure of service delivery, I think it's a consequence of some of the bigger macro issues that are playing out. It's a slowing economy, it's a reduced tax base that's starting to emerge, it's issues of unemployment, it's the massive disparity that we start to see. But unfortunately, this plays out at the electoral level, and it specifically plays out in terms of local government, because local government is around these service delivery issues, the bread and butter issues. I think what we're going to see as the results start to filter through is who holds the real power in different metro municipalities. And so I think some of these issues will start to come to the fore. There is a possibility that in the city of Johannesburg even, that we will have a possible coalition government coming through. And this then starts to have a very interesting conversation. Which parties start to come together? I think if you look at the ideology, if you look at the policies, there's much more of an alignment between the ANC and the EFF. But with politics, who knows where these things play out? So the city of Tshwane is the seat of the union buildings. It's the seat of the presidency. It's the political capital of the country. We know that the city of Tshwane has a significant power base in terms of and an influence in terms of the province of Gauteng, which accounts for more than 30% of South Africa's GDP. So economically, it's significant. Politically, it's significant. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, this is where we had a significant amount of history and legacy from a country perspective and from a democracy. And so the party that leads this coalition, or the party that wins the city of Tshwane, will be an important player for the next 5 years in terms of local government.